You put the eggs in the incubator, waited the 21 days, the chicks hatch beautifully, and suddenly they start dying. One, two, three, and you do not understand why. I have seen breeders lose half the batch in the first few days without knowing exactly what they did wrong. And the worst part is that the mistake is almost always something simple. It is something you are doing or failing to do every single day without realizing it. Today, I'm going to show you the 4 errors that kill the most chicks in the first few days here in our country, along with the warning signs for each one, what to do immediately, and how to never go through this type of situation again. For those who do not know me yet, I am an agronomist, a poultry specialist, and here we breed using proper techniques and the right methods. Let me tell you something I see happen very often. The breeder does everything right in the incubator, selects the eggs well, regulates the temperature, and waits the 21 days. The chick hatches and then they think the work is over, but it is exactly the opposite, folks. When the chick leaves the egg, it enters the most fragile phase of its life. It cannot maintain its own temperature yet. Its intestine is still forming. Its defense system is almost starting from scratch. Any mistake will turn into mortality in your flock. And what worries me is that most of the deaths I see in the field are not bad luck. They are a lack of information. These are mistakes anyone makes when no one teaches them what needs to be done. Back in the beginning, I made these mistakes too, so I learned and am here to share this with you. I am going to divide this video into 4 parts, one mistake per block. At the end of each one, I will give you a warning sign so you can recognize it and what you should do to solve this problem. If you stay until the end, you will leave here with a complete checklist to never lose a chick to these problems again. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and click to share, because this content is the kind that will circulate in farm WhatsApp groups, saving many chicks out there. The first and biggest killer of chicks in the first few days is not disease, it is the cold. And the problem, folks, is that many people do not recognize it, because the brooder seems warm to whoever enters, but warm for you is not warm for a chick just 3 days old. The chick, until it completes roughly 18 days of life, cannot regulate its own body temperature. It depends completely on the environment to stay warm. When it gets cold, its first instinct is to stop moving, and then it stops drinking, stops eating, the intestine stalls, and in a few hours it begins to weaken. Field research shows, folks, that cold stress in chicks begins below 28 degrees in the environment. And what happens when they get cold? You will see them all huddled under the lamp, on top of each other. Those on the bottom can even die of suffocation. Those on the outside stay cold. It is a snowball effect. The warning sign is huddled chicks, quiet, with drooping wings and ruffled feathers. This pile under the lamp means it is cold, and you need to do something. So what are we going to do? In the first week, the environment near the heat source needs to be around 33 to 35 degrees. In the second, 30 to 32. In the third, 28 to 30, and keep reducing. The cheapest and most reliable thermometer that exists is the behavior of the birds. If they are spread out calmly in the space, it is a sign that the temperature is good. If they are all huddled under the lamp, it is a sign that it is too cold. Or if they are only around the outskirts of the lamp, none near it, it is a sign that it is too hot. One detail few people remember: cold bedding kills as much as cold air. If the floor is freezing, the chick loses heat through its feet and stays sitting. Then it will not look for food or water. Put down at least 5 centimeters of rice husks, wood shavings, dry straw, or even hygienic granules. This helps keep the heat inside the brooder. The second error is this one here, which is treacherous because it looks like just dirt, but it goes way beyond that. Wet bedding. Brooder bedding, whether rice husks, shavings, or straw, has a function beyond covering the floor. It absorbs moisture from feces and animal respiration. When it gets soaked, it becomes a breeding ground. Fungi grow, bacteria multiply, and the main villain that appears in this situation is coccidiosis, the intestinal disease I will talk more about later, how to avoid it and how to fight it. Additionally, wet bedding lowers the ambient temperature. It is like sleeping in wet clothes. The cold hits much faster. The warning sign is the bedding becomes packed, darkened, with a strong smell of ammonia. That brooder smell that burns your nose. This means it has already passed the limit. What to do in this situation? Stir the bedding at least once a day in the spots where the drinker drips, which is where it gets wettest. And get into the habit of changing the bedding more frequently, sometimes daily. Do not leave that part wet. If the bedding is already severely compromised, remove everything, disinfect the floor, and put everything back new. Do not try to reuse old bedding with new chicks. This is one of the fastest ways to bring disease to the batch. Here is a pro tip, a bonus tip, diatomaceous earth. That is right. Diatomaceous earth serves to prevent moisture in the bedding. Whether in the coop or the brooder, diatomaceous earth absorbs moisture and also controls parasites like mites and lice, besides killing some fungi and bacteria. You can easily find it for sale at farm supply stores. There are products like the hygrometer, which you will use to measure the temperature and humidity of the brooder, as well as vitamins and proper drinkers that help a lot with management. The third error hurts because it seems like such a simple thing. Dirty drinkers and stagnant water. I will be direct, folks. Chicks peck at everything. They peck the drinker, the bedding, the feeder. When the drinker sits there stagnant, with feces inside, algae growing, and food scraps, this water becomes a literal poison. Bacteria multiply in stagnant water in a matter of hours, especially in the heat we maintain with the lamp. And there is an important detail. A sick or cold chick does not drink water properly, and when it finally goes to drink, it finds bad water. The damage is double. Its digestive system is already weakened and still faces a bacterial attack. Field studies show that on the first day of life, each chick needs to ingest at least 24 mmmin of clean water. If the water quality is not good, this consumption drops, and the entire development of the first week is compromised. The warning sign is a drinker with a darkened bottom, off-colored water, a bad smell, the presence of algae, or simply chicks that are not drinking. What are we going to do? Wash the drinker at least twice a day if you can. If not, once already helps. Use clean, filtered water from a reliable source. One measure that works very well. Put a teaspoon of organic apple cider vinegar per liter of water 3 times a week. The vinegar slightly acidifies the water, making it harder for bacteria to multiply and helping the chick's intestine work better. It is natural, cheap, and efficient. Position the drinkers away from the bedding because the chick will stir up the bedding near the drinker and kick everything inside. Place it on a mesh screen or a stand that keeps the water higher than the bedding or even hanging, elevating it a bit to avoid dirt. The fourth error is the leading cause of death in poultry farming, coccidiosis, which comes very quietly. Actually, this is not exactly your mistake, but a consequence of the previous 3 that you let slip. Coccidiosis is an intestinal disease caused by a tiny parasite that lives in the environment, on the ground, in the bedding, in the water. It enters through the chick's beak, goes straight to the intestine, and starts destroying cells from the inside. The result is diarrhea, sometimes with blood. The chick stops absorbing nutrients, loses weight very quickly, and dies. It truly is the disease that kills the most chicks in the growing phase, and some adults too, generating the famous dry breast. What makes coccidiosis so dangerous in the first few days, that it takes advantage of the moment when the chick is already weakened by the cold, wet bedding, or bad water. Research shows that the coccidiosis parasite survives in a moist environment for up to 52 days. In other words, if you raised a previous batch on the same bedding without disinfecting, the next batch already starts contaminated. The warning signs are chicks with yellowish, greenish, or bloody diarrhea. They look hunched over with ruffled feathers, eyes closed, not eating, and staying quiet in a corner. What should we do? First, separate the birds with symptoms. Second, change all the bedding, keep the brooder sanitized, put in dry bedding and clean water. Apple cider vinegar and garlic in the water help make the environment difficult for the parasite. There is a vaccine against coccidiosis for the first few days, which avoids high mortality. But if you handle the management of the first 3 blocks correctly, it will be hard for the disease to appear. If the chick already has symptoms, it is time to use a specific anti-coccidial, like sulfamycin. Do not try to treat advanced cases only with natural remedies. as natural remedies are for prevention. Keep sulfamycin in your cabinet because this disease kills very fast and sometimes there is not enough time to go buy it in town the next day. Now comes the specialist's pro tip. Pay attention because this detail differentiates those who lose chicks from those who do not. The 4 errors I showed almost never appear alone. They arise in a chain and everything starts with the cold. The brooder cools down, the chick feels cold and stops moving. Motionless, it does not drink water. Without drinking, it pecks at the wet bedding. With wet bedding, the coccidiosis parasite proliferates. The weak chick contracts the disease and dies. You think it was just disease, but the trigger was the cold from the very first day. My golden tip, visit the brooder 2 to 3 times a day in the first 15 days. Early in the morning, at noon, and in the late afternoon. 5 minutes is enough to watch their behavior. If they are spread out, good sign. If they are huddled, adjust the temperature. If they are quiet with drooping wings, isolate and medicate. Experienced breeders with mortality below 1% visit the brooder before breakfast. This habit changes the result. Additionally, learn to recognize the smell of ammonia as an alarm that something is wrong. Summing it all up, error 1 is the cold. Maintain 33 to 35 degrees in thick bedding. Error 2 is wet bedding. Stir every day and do not reuse old bedding. Error 3 is dirty water. Wash the drinker and use apple cider vinegar. Error 4 is coccidiosis. Prevention with cleaning and treatment with sulfamycin if necessary. Tell me in the comments which of these mistakes you have already made. I have made them all, and it was by making mistakes that I learned. No judgment, just learning. If these guidelines helped you understand how to better protect your flock and avoid unnecessary losses, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. We are sharing technical knowledge to strengthen poultry farming and ensure that every chick grows up healthy. The future of your batch depends on the care you dedicate today. The next essential guide will be published soon.